What's up, guys? It's Lauren here. Today, hold on. I feel like I should apologize, but then again not apologize because I don't even think that many people care like that. But I have been MIA for a cool minute because I don't know, I suck at this kind of thing. I was really just getting unmotivated. I've just been, I don't know, a lot has been happening, okay? Like a lot. So I'm probably just gonna say that for another video, but I do want to give a shout out to the people, like, from the last time I've posted, I've gained like 10 or 12 people who subscribed. I don't know why you did, but I really do appreciate it. So I just want to give a shout out to y'all. If you guys ever watch this, I appreciate that, because I was just kind of like, what? Like, I haven't posted, but it also made me feel good and kind of motivated me to film. And see, the thing is, I would film and I would edit it and I'd be so ready to upload it, but then I'd just okay, let me watch it one more time just to make sure everything's okay, and then I don't end up liking it, and I just overthink, and I feel like I might have said something to offend someone, and people are just sensitive and annoying, so I decided not to upload them. I'm gonna get back into my mojo, and yes, so that's all I need to ramble about. Let's get on to this video. So in today's video, I'm gonna be telling a story time. I had filmed the story time before, edited it, you know what I mean, did the whole shebang, okay, thumbnail and all, and I just was looking back on it and I was like, I don't like it. So this story time took place, when did this take place? It was around Halloween of 2018. I just know it was around Halloween because I remember thinking, if this had happened on Halloween night, I don't think I would have been as scared, because it's kind of implied Halloween, get scared. Sorry about that. I'm back with some hoops, honey, because we needed a little spice going on. Okay, so on this specific night, my best friend and I, Ose, we wanted to go out. We hadn't gone out in a while. It was kind of our thing, spring semester of freshman year, to just go out and party. So I remember getting ready, we were really hyped, we were excited. Honestly, this whole night was just a series of unfortunate events, one after another. So we see that people are posting flyers, okay? And a friend of mine was posting this club that was kind of known to go to in San Francisco, at least for 18 and over clubs. It's the most popular club to go to. So he was promoting that. Usually it's $20 to enter, but for this specific night that he's promoting, it was going to be $10 before 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. or something like that. So we decided that we would go there because we're okay, we've already been there before, we know it's fun, it's half off, why not, So I remember hitting this boy up and asking him oh, are you going for sure, are you there already, what's going on? So originally we were supposed to wait until he responded for us to leave, but we didn't want to miss the deadline of it being 11 o'clock. So we went ahead and left, and it's a good little drive, the Uber I think was maybe $10, maybe, I know it was less than 15, but it still wasn't the cheapest Uber, you know what I mean? So we pull up to oh no, we're in the car on the way to the club, right? And my friend finally responds to me. Mind you, I had hit him up maybe 5 or 10 minutes before we left the house, so we're already almost 10 minutes away from the club. And he responds and he was yeah, I'm here at the club, but I don't know why I said club like that. Yeah, I'm here at the club, but for some reason, that promotion is not valid anymore. They're gonna charge full price now. He was he's that's out. So me and my homies are just gonna go to this other party. Here's the Addy. So I'm already in the car wow, I just wasted money on this Uber. That's really annoying, we get out the car when we get to the club, and we decided to just cross the street and call another Uber to this address that he sent. Okay, the club was already a good 20-minute like a 20-minute mission. Now mind you, let's say that where we lived was right here. Let's say the club was over here. The Addy that he gave us was like over here. Okay, so we're like double the distance away from home. This area, I was definitely not familiar with it. I'm not from the area. My friend Osa, she's not from that area either, but she really wasn't familiar with that area because it was really like out of the way of like where we lived for school. So we didn't think anything of it. We really didn't. Come to find out afterwards, it's actually a really dangerous area, like where the party was. So she calls the Uber for us to go to this party that my friend had told me about. So we pull up to the party. Right when we get there, it was so dry. Like, it was more like a kickback more than a party, if anything. And I remember just being kind of like, okay, like, this is really annoying because, like, I got all cute and stuff and nothing's popping off, you know what I mean? And at this point, we weren't in the mood to, like, Uber to another place. It was just kind of like, okay, like, if this doesn't work out, we're just gonna go home because this is already our second attempt. Like, it's just not working out, you know? Let's not force anything that's not meant to be. So, okay, yeah, we're in the party. It's like a little kickback. It's whatever. We're kind of giving it a chance. When we pull up there, I ended up seeing my friend that I hit up about the, you know, party, the club, whatever. So we see him. He's with another friend of mine. And then they're with another guy that we didn't really know at the time. So we're hanging out with them. It's fine. We're kind of like talking shit about the party. Just kind of like, okay, yeah, this is kind of lame, you know? And then we all go outside and we're just talking, chilling, and while we're outside we're talking and we're like, okay, like once like midnight like hits and like no one's around, like we're just gonna go. And one of the guys that we were with was like, oh, like we can have like a little kickback at our house, like you guys can come by, we could just chill. So I'm like, yeah, like I'm down for that. I'm like, if this party doesn't turn up in the next, like before midnight, let's just like, you know, chill at your house or whatever. So that was the plan, and sure enough, like maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, like a big swarm of people end up going in the house and it turned into a party. So we go back in the house. We're like, okay, cool, like we're fine. Like some more people that we know end up coming, so it's like, it's cool, like we're having a good time. So then like I want to say maybe like an hour in, like maybe like 1 in the morning, the girl who owned the house was like, if I don't know you personally, like you guys need to go. And so it's totally understandable. It's like 1 in the morning, like okay, that's fine. So everyone's like, you know, heading outside. So we're all hanging outside. Everyone's kind of just chilling. Nobody's really calling their Uber yet. Everyone's just kind of like, you know, going with the flow. We're still talking about going to our friend's house afterwards. Like they're now telling other people about it, like, you know, kickback at our house, blah blah. So we're chilling, and then there's one guy that was just like sitting on the step, and I remember him being, I think he was like drunk or something, I really don't know, but I remember him saying something funny, and it was just kind of like, okay, like who's this random guy, like he's just sitting on the stairs, like it's whatever. Just keep that guy in mind, okay? Like it was innocent, it was whatever. He just said something funny, and I remember just looking over like, what? Like whose friend is this, you know? So yeah, just keep that guy in mind. Carlin, please. Mommy's trying to film. Shh. Thank you. So after a good 10-15 minutes of being outside, mind you, there's a bunch of people like on the sidewalk in front of the house. I go to one of my guy friends, not the one who invited me to the club, not the one that we didn't know when we first pulled up. Like at this point in the night, we had already had like conversation. So I like went up to him and I was like, hey, when are you guys gonna call your Uber? And he was like, oh, we actually already called ours. And I'm like, thanks for telling us. He was like, oh, my fault. He's like, but we'll be there, so like, you know, slide. So I'm like, okay. So I go back to Ose and I'm like, okay, they already called their Uber, so I'm gonna call us an Uber to go to their house. And mind you, their house isn't really that far from our house, so it was fine. So I call the Uber and I end up calling the express pool because I had already spent money like on Uber going to the club initially. College student, don't have money like that, you know what I mean? So I called the express pool. If you don't know what the express pool is, it's pool, but you go to a destination that's convenient for the driver. So if they are on this street and they're gonna keep on going straight, and like their next destination is like on the same street, but you're over here, they're gonna make you like meet them over here so they could just keep going straight. You know what I mean? It's just for the convenience of the driver. It's like more fast and efficient or whatever. And even when they drop you off, they may not drop you off right where you said you wanted to, but it's at least like maybe like a 5-minute walk at most. I've never walked more than 5 minutes when ordering express pool. So that's what that is. So I ordered the express pool, and by this time there aren't as many people out on the streets. Like the guys that we knew, they're already gone. The other people that we knew, they're already gone, and at this point it's just like her and I. So I'm like, okay, we have to walk. So we start walking. Already Ose wasn't very comfortable with walking because it's like 1 in the morning. We're walking by ourselves, you know, 2 girls. We're walking away from people who are in front of the house. So we're going in a more like secluded area, so to speak. We don't know the neighborhood. And so we ended up having to walk up, like the house was on a hill. So we ended up having to walk up that hill and like turn the corner and like walk a little bit more of that. So when the Uber comes, he pulls up in the middle of the street. Doesn't pull off like on the side or anything. He pulls up in the middle of the street. So I'm walking, she's behind me, and I was just gonna sit in the front seat because there was already a guy in the back seat. So I go to walk around the car because the way he pulled up was like this. We were on this side, so we had to like go in the middle of the street. I'm walking around the car so I could sit in the passenger seat, and then she's just gonna sit. What are you doing? Can you lay down, please? Do you want to say hi? Ugh. You want to say hi? Say hi. So I'm walking around, and I look in the car as I'm about to open the door, and the guy in the back seat looks me up and down and licks his lips. One thing about me, I do not tolerate like disrespect from men in that manner. Like, I feel like that's so out. Don't catcall me. Don't, like, that's, ooh, that really gets on my nerves. So right when I was about to sit in the car, I was gonna turn around and be like, what is your problem? Like, why are you looking at me like that? Like, don't do that. Like, I was really gonna press him, you know? Before I even get to like turn around and like go off on this man, I look, and Ose's body is not in the car. Her, like, one leg is in the car, and she's like, we're not going in this Uber. And I'm like, what? She's like, get out the car. Like, we're not taking this Uber. And she's like, Lauren, no. And I was like, what? So, like, I'm getting irritated with her. Like, girl, I already called this Uber. Like, I'm about to go off on this man in the back. Like, we're just gonna go to our friend's house and, like, call it a night afterwards. You know what I mean? So she was like, no, I'm not getting in this Uber. So she's like, get out the car. And like, she closes the door. So I look at the driver and I'm like, oh, I was like, I'm so sorry. And like, he didn't even say anything. He didn't even look at me. He was just kind of like, and I was kind of like, okay. So then I get out the car, I close the door, and I'm like, I had an attitude, and I was like, why didn't you want to take the Uber? Like, and she was like, we weren't going to take it because like, he was doing too much. So she was like, his hand was like on his dick. So I was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, and I think he was drunk. And I'm like, okay, like, I understand that now. But I'm like, no, I'm lying. I did not understand. I was still just kind of irritated because I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I was just like irritated because I didn't want to like waste my money or whatever, in which he ended up canceling it, so it didn't charge me. But at the moment, I was just like, you're being dramatic. To me in my head, I was just kind of like, ugh, whatever. So she was like, we're calling another Uber, but we're going back to the house. Like, we're not going to stand here on the corner waiting for it because, like, anything can happen to us. So I'm like, whatever. So we end up walking, but we're not walking together because we have an attitude with each other, you know? So we're walking back to the party house. We get to the party house, and she calls the Uber. Now, this whole part that I'm about to say, I kid you not, this happened within 3 to 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes, probably 3 to 4 minutes. I kid you not. So we get back in front of the house. At this point, there's just one group of people in front of the house, and they're like down here. The party house is like right here, and we're kind of standing like right in front of the party house. So they're kind of like, they're not far from us, but like I said, we're on a hill. So they're like in front of like the third house or the second house, and we're still in front of the party house. So we're talking. She's letting me know like you know, why it is that she didn't want to take the Uber, and I'm like understanding. I'm like, okay, like, you're right, anything could have happened to us. And the fact that the Uber driver wasn't even really concerned about like what he was doing, you know, and wasn't asking like, is everything okay, like, why do you guys want to take another Uber? Like, he wasn't even phased by it. So who's to know that he wouldn't help us in like a situation to where, God forbid, anything happened to Oset, like in the back, or if I had gone off on him and he would have did something, like anything could have happened, you know. So that's what she was explaining to me. And, you know, hashtag communication. I was like, okay, like, you're right, I apologized, and it was fine. So by this time we had like squashed our little beef or whatever, and we're, you know, continuing to wait for this Uber. And at this time, the group of people had already left in their Uber, in like 2 separate Ubers, I think. Ooh, okay, lighting. Hi. I'm just kidding. Okay, so the group of people that were there, they left. And then there's one guy left, and he's like drunk. It was not the same guy that was sitting on the stairs, by the way, if you think that. But still keep that man in mind, okay? So there's one guy still there. I remember he was like talking to us, and I was like talking back to him because why not, you know? So that guy ends up leaving. All right, so now it's just me and Oset on the street. No one's there, just us on the sidewalk. I'm the type of person to where my head is always on a swivel. I'm always checking my surroundings. I'm always on a swivel. Like, it's just, I'm like such a paranoid person. I'm just always like on the lookout, like, okay, she moved over there. Okay, like, he got out with her. Like, I'm just that type of person. I'm always on the move, right? We're standing there, and I heard like a car like pull up, you know, behind us. I knew that it wasn't our Uber though, because it still had like 2 minutes left. 2 to like 1 minute left or whatever. 1 to 2 minutes left. That's what I should say. So, okay, so he pulls up, and then I'm like, okay. So I gotta turn around, and I see him pull up. Mind you, he's coming like downhill, right? So he's across the street, and he parks like this. We're across the street, standing in front of the party house. He parks. I'm like, okay. He probably just lives there, you know, no big deal. Like, whatever. Talking, cool. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, it's been like long enough for him to get out the car by now. Like, what is he doing? So like, I turn around again. He's still sitting in the car, and I'm like, okay, maybe he's just like getting stuff out of his car. Whatever, you know, nothing, whatever. Talking. I kid you not, this is like within like 10-second increments. I'm like talking, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So I already checked twice. I saw when he pulled up, and I turned around again because I'm like, he should be out the car by now. The third time that I turn around to look at this man, at this point, his body, the car door's already open. I didn't even hear the car door open. That's what like really like messes with my head right now. I didn't even hear the car door open, but he's standing behind the door, so his body's covered. I'm only seeing like from this up. He has his arm rested on the car door, and he gives me a thumbs up. And I remember being like, what the hell? And I was like, what are you doing? Or since I called him out in some way, and he didn't say anything. So I was like, and I turned back around, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, what's wrong with this nigga? Like, I remember being like, what the fuck? So she was like, it's fine. Like, let's just walk down. So we walked down to the neighbor of the party house. When we get to that house, I turn around again, like, just out of instinct. Like, let me just make sure this nigga's not doing any like weird shit, you know? Turn around. Now half of his body is being covered by the car door. And I go from his head to going down to the car door diagonal to his arm. So the way he was standing, like, I'm just going to use my laptop. So let's say like he's like this, right? The car door. And then his arm is just like hanging out. And in his hand, he has a knife. This man had a knife in his hand. And he's standing there, and then he goes like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got the chills. Ugh. I see the knife in his hand, and I'm like, Oset, he has a knife. And she's like, what? I'm like, he has a knife. Like, by the second time I was saying he has a knife, I'm like running. And when I shouted out the second time, like, she's running with me, and we're running like, so mind you, this man is across the street we're to the neighbors of the party house. So we're running down the hill, but I'm like, we can't run down the hill because obviously he has a car. He can just easily follow us down. Like, he has an advantage over us, you know? So I was like, no, we need to go. Such an intense part of the story, and he just... So now we're running, and I'm like, no, we need to go back to the party house. Like, that's our only hope of safety, because it's like almost 1:30 in the morning. Like, who's up right now? Like, who's gonna like open the door for some girls like screaming, you know? So I'm like, no, we need to go back. So we turn around and we're running back to the hill. I'm not even looking across the street because I'm like, I don't know where this man is. Like, my main focus is just for safety, you know? So to get to the house, like, there were some stairs, and I kid you not, running up those stairs, I felt like I was going up those stairs for such a long time. I was like, oh my gosh. So we're running up the stairs, and we're like banging on the door. We're not even saying anything. I think I was just too scared to even scream or like bring attention or like provoke him. I don't know what I was thinking, but we're just banging on this door. And like after a little bit, like, I'm like, oh, we need to scream, duh, like, say something. So we're like, help. We're like, he has a knife. We're like banging on the door. Mind you, they're like playing music inside still. Like, it's just her and her friends that are in there. So I'm like, if these people don't open this door, oh my gosh. So I was getting really frustrated. I was like even kicking on the door. We did this for a good like 30 to 45 seconds. Like, it wasn't long, but it felt really long, you know? I hear someone behind us go, who? Like, where is he? And so I turn around and I'm like, and it's the guy that was sitting on the steps that like said something funny, and I was like, oh, he's probably drunk. So I guess the nigga sobered up or something, I don't know. But he comes and he was like, who? Like, where is he? And I was like, he was across the street. And so where we were, I would have to go down some steps in order to like see, because I think there was like a tree covering like the cars or something. So I remember I couldn't see it from like being on top of the stairs, so I had to go down a couple of stairs while Osis still banging on the door. And I like look, and I'm like, he was across the street, but I was like, I don't see him anymore. So he turns around, he was like, hey, he's like, who's trying to stab some girls? He was like, he said something like, you a real bitch for that, like something like to where it was like he was trying to put him in his place, you know? So at this point, like, I ran back up the stairs and banged some more, and then they opened the door. We go inside the house. So once we get inside the house, so I'm like panicking, like I'm shaking. I'm like, oh my gosh, that really just happened? Like, anything could have happened, you know? And so I sit down on the couch, and like Osa's like panicking, and then the guys are like, what happened? I remember yelling at them, and I was like, please. I was like, give me a second. I was like, hold on. Like, I felt like I needed to get myself together because it was just too much. It was too intense. I couldn't handle it. So I finally explained it. And then this one girl, she comes out and she was like, wait, are you being serious? Like, are you telling the truth? And I look at her. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, who makes up something like that? I was like, yes, it was real. She's like, oh, like, I just want to make sure. I was like, get out of my face. You know what I mean? I was so irritated. And by this time, the Uber pulled up. And I kid you not, this happened within like 3 minutes. Like, I can't stress this enough. Like, she had literally called the Uber. We talked about it. Talked about other things. Like, I saw him with the knife. Like, we ran back up. We saw the guy like at the bottom of the stairs that was trying to help us. Like, it was crazy. So one of the guys like had a knife on him as well, or something like that, or like a taser. So he was like, okay, like, we're gonna walk you guys out to your car. So I'm like, okay, thank you for that. And like, while I was explaining the story, I guess the guy was still outside. So they're like, hey, is this him? And they were like, let's go. And I was like, wait, let me make sure first. Like, I'm not about to have you guys just like hurt somebody who's innocent, you know? So I look outside and I was like, no, that's not him. He was actually trying to help us. And like, that was the guy that was sitting on the step and asked us who the guy was and like called him out. So he ends up leaving and disappearing. We never got to like thank him or anything. Unfortunately, I really wish I could have, because he didn't have to like stand up for us or anything like that. So once that happened, the guys like walked us out to our Uber, and it was fine. And so we're in the Uber, and we're telling the guy about the story, and he was like, are you sure, like, he had a knife? Like, you know, that doesn't really sound right. And I'm looking at him like, are you a part of this setup or something? Like, what's really going on? So I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I know what I saw. Like, I would not have panicked, and if I thought otherwise, like, he was already weird by giving me a thumbs up, like, what, you know? So he was just kind of like, yeah, like, you gotta be careful, like, of where you like stand, and like, he was just being like really weird. So I was like, okay, whatever. So we ended up still Ubering to our guy friend's house. We get there, everybody's chilling, everybody's like smoking and everything. So we get there and I'm trying to tell my friend the story. And he's just not, like, he's taking it as a joke. I'm like, do you not understand that, like, something bad could have really happened? And, like, thank God it didn't happen. But it could have happened, you know? And I kept on trying to, like, reiterate that. He was just not listening to me. So I was really getting irritated. There were already people there that I didn't, like, mess with like that. So I was just like, I want to go home. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go outside. Like, I need to call my dad. I need to, like, tell someone about this. Because I just can't. I can't go to sleep with this, like, on my chest, you know? So I go outside and I call my dad. By this time, like, I have not cried at all. Like, I'm still just kind of in shock and just kind of like, wow, like, what if, like, I don't know. I was just thinking about any and everything. Like, that could have been my life right there, you know? So, I call my dad, and by this time, it has to be, like, 2:30 in the morning. And I call him and I tell him the story, and I'm like, Dad, I really thought I was going to die. Like, I really thought that was going to be it for me. I didn't know if he had other people, like, with him. Like, just every worst case scenario was going through my head. And right when I said, Dad, I really thought I was going to die, that's when I just broke down. And saying that out loud, especially because I was only speaking to it about Osa, and I couldn't really express how I felt right after the situation because we had just gotten in an Uber, you know, like, I don't know this man. I don't want him really knowing how I feel. Like, I just felt uneasy about that. Going outside and, like, telling my dad the situation, that's when it just really hit me. And I was just like, wow, like, that really just happened to me, you know? So we ended up going home shortly after that, and we said a prayer when we got home, and it was a little hard for me to go to sleep just because, like, it was just such a raw, intense moment. And I really felt as though that was the end for me. Like, having that feeling is not a good feeling at all. Like, I don't wish that on anybody. It's not cool. It's not fun. Like, I really just, like, went into flight mode, like, right away. And I'm glad I didn't, like, freeze or anything like that. Like, it was such a crazy experience. But, I mean, yeah, so that's the time we ran into a guy with a knife, and potentially really bad things could have happened, but I thank God to this day that nothing bad did happen, and that Osa and I got home safe, and they opened the door because I really didn't have to. Like, we didn't know anyone in the house, so I'm very grateful for them allowing us to be in the house. But yeah, it was just one after another, from wasting money to going to the club to calling getting to the party and it being lame at first, and then calling an Uber and a drunk guy in the back potentially, like, doing something to us or doing something to Osa, and then to the guy with like the knife. Like, it was a lot, and it was just so frustrating, like, trying to tell people how I felt, but they were just like, oh, that's crazy, like, he had a knife. Like, no, like, that's crazy, you know? Like, it's a real thing. It was very, very scary. So, yeah, that's the end of this story time. I really don't know what title it, but obviously it'll be up already because you'll see it. It'll be down here, I think, right? Okay, yeah, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, glad you did. And I will try to get into my mojo of putting more videos out there for those who do care, and I really do appreciate the people who have subscribed. I really do appreciate it so much. So yeah, have a good night, a good day whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.